Now that we have looked to enumerate function, let's jump into zip function. Zip is quite similar to our enumerate function. What it does is it will take two iterable and in the values which are in present in the same index. So let's say in iterable 1 at index 1 I have Paul, and in iterable 2 I have in index 1 I have Sikha. So it will just add them up. This is Paul, Sikha. Okay. Same thing for whatever I have in index number 2 in iterable 1, index number 2 in iterable 2, and it will combine both of them together. Now zip function returns again and zip object. As we could see in enumerate, it used to return me enumerate object, it returns me an zip object, which is again an iterator of tuples, where the first item in each past iterator is paired together. Okay. Index 1, whatever value you have in both the iterable, it will just combine them together. If the past iterators have different lengths, the iterator with the least item decides the length of the new iterator. So let's say I have iterable 1 has 3 element, iterable 4, iterable 2 has 6 elements. So the new iterate, that is the new zip, after passing out the zip object, the new object that we will be getting will be of length 3. So whichever is the whichever iterator is having the least items, it will be having, or it will be deciding the length of the new iterator. Let's look into the syntax of zip function. Zip iterable 1, iterable 2, iterable 3, and you can just have n number of iterables. So an iterable is quite similar to what we looked into the enumerate function. It can be a list, so or a tuple or anything. So I have one element, let's say this is a list. So let's take this example. This is a list where I have 3 values, and I have one more list where I have again 3 values. Okay. At the end, what it will result me back is something like this. It will be resulting me this. Same thing over here, this, and this. So all of these two will be combined into one whole. So the first item will be taken from here, the first item will be taken from here, combine them up together, and that is what gives us the zip operator. Now let's look into a quick example of it. I have two iterables over here that are both are tuples. So in first one I have John, Charles, and Mike, and in the second one I have Jenny, Christy, Monica, and Vicky. So I'm gonna zip them up. So these two will become a pair, these two will become a pair, these two will become a pair. Now this one will be removed. Why? Because as I have told you in the definition that whichever iterable is having the smallest least amount of values in it, it will be deciding the length of the new object that we are getting. So this is what how we are gonna zip the function. So I have zip a comma b, and then I'm printing tuple x. Okay, I'm just doing a sort of tuple, or you can just write out list over here also. Both will be working just fine. A bit of type conversion, and this is what we get as the output. Now let's jump into Jupyter Notebook and we view how to execute all of these over there. Now continuing up in the same window where we coded in the last section. So let's create some new cell, name this section as zip, change it to markdown, and now let's start playing with it. So let's have a two iterable. So let's say I have lst1 equal to, let me write out some numbers, 2 3 4 5 6 7, and lst2 with some names. So let's say Paul, Rohit, Nishu, and let's take one more name, Sandy. So I have 4 names and sort of 1 2 3 4 6 elements, okay, in list 1. So let's check if I want to check the length of both of them. So first one is having lst1 is having 6, length of lst2 it's 4. Okay, now let's use the zip function. So it's quite similar. Let's write out the syntax of it first. So syntax, so it's zip, so it will be a small z. As you can see that all of these are keywords. As you can see that it has been converted to in green color. So iterable 1 comma iterable 2 comma iterable 3, and that is how all of these are extended. Okay, it can have n numbers of iterable. Now let's get back to our code. So let's zip it, zip, and I'm gonna write our list1 lst1 comma lst2. So it has returned me a zip function. Let me convert it to a list or a tuple. It's on you, whichever you want to use, but both should be just fine. So you can see that all of these. So I was starting from 2. At index number 2, I was having Paul. At value 1, that is index 0, we were having value 2 at list 1 and Paul at list 2. Okay, same thing for 3, 4, 5. Okay. So at 3, I am having Rohit, 4, Nishu, 5, Sandy. Now, what happens to 6 and 7? These two are removed from the final one because we don't have any more indexes present or index value present in list 2. So all of those are removed. So at the end, we are getting something like this. So as this is a list, so you can just iterate or slice them up. So let's say -1, we will get the last value, -2, second last value. If you want to slice it up, let's start from 0 and 2, we'll just slice it up. So it converts to a list and all the list methods are quite concurrent over here. That is how you can run through this. Now if you want to use this in a for loop, that is also completely fine. So for say val 1 comma val 2, a type of tuple unpacking val 2 in zip lst1 comma lst2. Okay, now what I'm going to do is I'm going to print it. So let's print it out. Again, I'm going to use f string, but you are good to go if you want to use plus symbol, print statement, or using format. So value 1 equal to val 1 and value 2 equal to val 2. Now let's close it out. Okay, so as you can see that value 1 2, value 2 is Paul, again value 1 3, value 2 Rohit. So one by one we are getting just all of them. So that is how you can use zip functions and enumerate function in this. Now before ending this session, we are going to go through in, not in, and then we are going to start with random function. So that's it for this video. Let's jump back to our next video.